the Amityville Horror became infamous in the paranormal world for all the unbearable activities that the Lutz family was subjected to on a daily basis. One of the more incredible facts about that particular case is that the Lutz family only stayed a mere 28 days before fleeing. But what if there was a Midwestern home where a family was terrorized so thoroughly that they only last 13 days before running for their lives? For those unfamiliar, the Screaming House of Union, Missouri is one such place, and the LaChance family were the ones victimized. Before we proceed to the deadly haunting, remember to tell us where you are listening from and what time it is there. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more scary stories. The haunting of the Screaming House in 2001. Corporate trainer Stephen LaChance and his 3 children were coping with a terribly emotional event when his wife and mother of the children simply left them, crammed in a tiny apartment. Stephen took his 2 sons and only daughter to the town of Union, which is roughly 50 miles south of St. Louis. Prospering at his job, Stephen rented the multi-story home from a local property management firm. Classic white, with an open porch, idyllic yard, and all the charms afforded it. The LaChances were thrilled to be starting anew. On the day of moving in, a sedan pulled up with the windows down as the passengers shouted to Stephen and his family, "Hope you will get along well with them," before driving off in a frenzy. Puzzled by what they meant, Stephen and his family were about to find out in very short order just exactly what it was they meant. Lights were the first thing the family began to notice. In the evenings, it would seem if incredibly bright lights were being shined right through the windows into the home. Rushing outside, there were no bright lights originating from anywhere. The lights did not malfunction within the home, but there were electrical charges felt by the family. A contractor Stephen hired came in and could find no source of an electrical malfunction in the home. They would describe an electrical current feeling that would pass across the back of their neck or sensations of an inside tickling that would manifest. There is a strong belief in the paranormal community that these sorts of electrical charges typically occur near a supernatural portal, some place where the negative energy or entity is coming through from. The screaming begins, the activity in the home began to rapidly increase. Doors often opened and closed on their own. Stephen's children were often afraid to walk from one room to another without being escorted by one another or Stephen himself. One of his sons had a terrifying encounter with a demonic-looking creature resembling a clown. Wild, frazzled red hair, long white face with no eyes, and a gaping, razor-toothed mouth. It is believed this is also the entity responsible for constantly rearranging and moving objects within the home, and in particular the children's rooms. Screams were regularly heard within the home. Stephen and the children later described these as a deep, male voice that both growled and shrieked without provocation to absolutely deafening levels. Terrified, Stephen sent out a flurry of emails to paranormal groups, including the Warrens, but he never heard a reply. The final straw was one evening when the home began to violently shake and scream at the same time. Stephen's children were in their rooms and began to scream themselves from the horror. Rushing to them, he could not reach his daughter as her bedroom door would not open. Stephen began thrusting and shoving with all his weight against the door to get it to budge or break, but it would not give the slightest inch. The deafening screams increased, and with his daughter wailing on the other side, Stephen looked to the sky and shouted, "God help me." The door instantly opened. He picked up his daughter, not looking back towards her closet, where even more screams emanated, and they ran out of the home. His daughter later claimed she heard pounding and lots of different voices coming from deep within the closet. Outside the home, Stephen looked through the window to see a black shadow figuring flying from room to room looking for them. The Catholic Church and the Screaming House paranormal groups and the Catholic Church were called in to investigate the home. Historically, the home was supposedly built on the remains of a slave quarters cabin from the pre-Civil War era. Within 500 feet of the home was an older cemetery, while across the street, in a separate home, a violent axe murder once took place. Stephen and the groups believed the entire land was poisoned. From a bloody history.paranormal, groups have documented dozens of EVPs and photographs of the activity in the home. Such documentation has not come without a price. While some investigators have been bitten or scratched, the Catholic Church issued a rare 156-page report on the home claiming it was indeed manifested with a strong demonic presence. The Screaming House of Union is one of the more unknown haunted house cases ever documented, and from the events inside, may be one of the most diabolical ever. Zak Bagans' Demon House. Paranormal ghost hunter and television show creator Zak Bagans is a man who is on almost a never-ending quest to search for the truth. This quest is popularized by his own television show, Ghost Adventures. In creating the show, he hoped to find answers to questions and has said of his paranormal missions, "There are things in this world that we will never fully understand. We want answers. We have worked years to build our credibility, our reputation, working alongside the most renowned professionals in the field, capturing groundbreaking proof of the paranormal. This is our evidence." Having such a firm grasp on the pulse of the supernatural, it came as no surprise that when Bagans learned of the Ammons house haunting and exorcism of Gary, Indiana, he wanted to step up and investigate how genuine and terrifying it was. Taking his mission to new heights, he did something that was a paranormal first for him. He bought the actual Ammons house himself and chronicled it in a disturbing paranormal documentary. Demon House. Latoya Ammons, along with her mother and 3 children, were horribly tormented by demons living in the new home in 2012. After months of battling the demons, as well as the authorities, the family ended up fleeing the home sometime in late 2013. This wasn't before contacting local Catholic priest, Father Michael Magina, who performed a spate of exorcisms. While the exorcisms were proven effective, Latoya has refused to acknowledge or speak about what has gone on out of genuine fear of the demons in the house following her and her family. Upon hearing this, Bagans purchased the house over the phone with a realtor in Gary, and a week later stepped foot on the premises for the first time ever with his crew. Minutes into his tour of the home, Bagans was contacted by a psychic medium he knew over the phone who warns of a 12-foot-tall demon guardian that resides in the house and tells him to stay far away and leave. Bagans remains committed and refused to leave to get more perspective on what truly happened in the house. Bagans does his best to pursue the whereabouts of Latoya and her family, to interview them and inform them that he purchased the house. Learning of a family apartment that Latoya resides in, he pursued the lead to discover she refuses to meet or speak with him about the house out of further fear that the demons there will terrorize them. Latoya's brother, Kevin, does, however, agree to speak with Bagans and tells him that children seemed to receive the brunt of the demon's anger while in the house. Bizarre ritualistic chanting, growling, and domestic violence was rampant. After meeting with Bagans informally, LaToya kicked her own brother out of her new apartment over fears that after meeting with Bagans, the demons will find them and once again invade their lives, with more and more individuals refusing to speak with him. Bagans resorted to accessing police footage of the home after the Ammons initially fled. He sought out a local police detective who had been in the home previously and agreed to go on camera with Bagans. He alerts Bagans to an unsearched area of the home under the basement steps to discover a patch of dirt flooring amidst a mostly concreted room. Further discovery finds half-melted and used candles that were likely associated with demonic rituals of some kind. Short on more people willing to talk, as an instance of pure coincidence. A woman pulls up in a car by Bagans and tells him she was a former renter of the home before the Ammons family began. Agrees to give the woman and her 3 teens a tour of the home to get a deeper perspective. Giving her name as Micah, she tells of strange noises and a sense of dread while living there. She flat out refuses on camera to go down into the basement, stating her brother used to live there with her and his room was in the basement and she had constant nightmares of his death. Micah's brother was shot and killed only months later after having the dreams. Midway through the documentary, Bagans is able to locate DC investigator Valerie Washington, who personally witnessed the demonic possession of the children. This included one of them walking backward up a hospital wall unassisted to a height of over 20 feet, before flipping straight off the ceiling. She refuses to go near the house or meet Zach in person, but agrees to a Skype session in which she informs him she no longer is in the area and had to leave due to the psychological trauma that she suffered and still has to receive therapeutic counseling. 4. Things soon began to unravel for Bagans in his documentary. A crew member quits midway after being unable to handle the situation anymore. To quell any skeptics, Bagans arranges for Dr. Barry Taff to check the geothermal activity around the house to prove there is nothing scientifically causing any hallucinations or unexplained activity in the house. Using magnetic readings, Dr. Taff discovers alarmingly high levels in the home. Personally evaluating Bagans' own body, Dr. Taff informs him that he's giving off a magnetic reading of 8 to 12 million times that of a normal human being. Throughout the investigation, Taff experiences periods of dizziness and swaying. After his visit, he's hospitalized into intensive care after his major internal organs all simultaneously shut down. Micah's daughter, who visited Bagans earlier in the home, attempts suicide to help Micah and her family. Bagans arranges for them to meet with Fr. Magina, and an on-camera exorcism is performed on her to free her soul from torment, to get to the bottom of everything once and for all. Bagans does something not recommended by his own crew. He accelerates the situation by literally boarding himself up within the house overnight. Cameras placed in the home document his constant pacing and informal seances to manifest whatever is in the home. Odd growls and rappings instill a paranoia in Bagans, who soon witnesses a black mass coming out of the wall from his own perspective, and a painful stabbing sensation behind his eye sockets. Dawn comes and Bagans rushes to a doctor to find out his eyes are crossed with double vision and he's afflicted with a condition known as diplopia. Surgery is ruled out as it could cause permanent blindness, and instead Bagans is forced to wear prism glasses as he's informed that his eye condition is indeed permanent. The Bothel Hell House in 2012. All Keith Linder and his girlfriend Tina wanted was to enjoy their newly rented house in Bothel, Washington, a suburb near Seattle. Keith was employed as a software engineer with Microsoft at their headquarters and enjoying all the area had to offer in terms of leisure. Everything was a total living dream for him and Tina, starting what should have been an exciting new chapter in their lives. But instead, they were subject to a pure living hell at the hands of an unseen paranormal entity shortly after moving into the somewhat newly constructed home. The first sign of anything suspicious is when household objects such as car keys and silverware began to disappear, writing off the missing objects as simple misplacements. Nothing strange was suspected. Then, one evening while watching television, a potted houseplant in a heavy, ornate vase levitated in full view of both Keith and Tina before shooting up into the air and shattering to the floor. Trying to make sense of the plant tumbling, Keith and Tina still dismissed what they saw. Weeks later, thunderous banging sounds began to occur on a regular basis, descending from the upstairs attic. Always at night, it verged on near foundational damage as the sounds were that loud, but no actual damage could be found. At other times, upon waking in the morning, Keith and Tina would go downstairs to their kitchen and find every single kitchen cabinet and drawer pulled wide open. The nightly bangings increased, and reaching out, Keith and Tina found some local non-denominational ministers to generically bless the house. After the blessing, a few days passed with no further activity, so to celebrate the new house and job, a housewarming party was thrown. Hours into the party, guests complained of cold spots and being touched or pushed by an unseen force when nobody was around. As the evening ended with only a guest or two in the house and in full view, one of the few remaining plants levitated, flew across the room, and smashed to the floor. At this point, Keith and Tina came to the realization that there must be an entity of supernatural origin in the home, and it is not willing to leave. After an impromptu sage smudging and Bible quoting session, Lindler soon discovered that, like his keys and silverware, his Bible was now missing as well. The paranormal activity in the house steadily increased as the weeks went by. Doors were now slamming, and the home began experiencing electrical issues. Worse yet, Keith took a mysterious fall down the stairs, horribly injuring his patella. Shortly thereafter, on a Sunday afternoon, all the upstairs light fixtures in the home exploded all at once. Desperate to find any information, Keith was able to locate one of the former tenants, who used to live in the house. She refused to set foot on the property, but reportedly said, "That house is living hell." Bothel Hell House investigations day after day. The attacks increased in frequency and devastation. Keith and Tina began reaching out to paranormal experts in the field. Along came documented paranormal researcher Don Phillips, who was based in the United Kingdom, and upon hearing of all the violent and constant activity in the home, was on the first flight out to Seattle. While most previous ghost hunters to the home used seances and spells to help, Phillips relied more on scientific methods that showcased the electromagnetic pulses of paranormal activities within the home. Phillips took upon himself the absolutely monumental and grueling task of staying in the haunted home with his tech team for over 2 weeks after all was said and done in the investigation. Phillips and his team walked away with over 400 recordings of vocal phenomena, as well as 28 of them in direct response to questions. for reasons only known to itself. The entity manifested briefly into the appearance of a middle-aged woman, tired, disheveled, yet angry and nasty-looking. The appearances were never captured to video, but still offered no clues as to why they are haunting anyone who lives in the home. Sometimes in 2016, it became all too much for both Keith and Tina to handle, and they decided it was best to end their personal relationship with one another. Both have moved out, and Keith currently resides in an apartment near Seattle and reports no ghostly activity has followed him. As for the house, it still stands and was recently occupied. However, the newest tenants say there is still paranormal activity ongoing in the house.